Yo.
Yo. Howdy, everyone. And welcome to the Word number 37. Can you believe that? Does reading and Q&A combined? Oh, everyone.
Uh-oh.
So this evening we have reading with us. We have Dee and Landon.
What's my name?
And Lynn. So we are continuing off the rails, but still on the narrow path. We're reading Joshua chapter 4, Joshua chapter 5, Joshua chapter 6, Joshua chapter 7, and Joshua 8.
Yay.
I know, exciting, huh? So let's go ahead and pray in, and then we'll get rolling. Heavenly Father, thank you very much for this beautiful day, regardless of all the tumult and turmoil that's going on around us. And we're very grateful to be in your word and to be with you. And we ask for you to let your word flow among everybody that sees this now or in the future, and that they get nourished from it. We thank you for that. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen. All right, Joshua 4. And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command you them, saying, Take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, and you shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where you shall lodge this night. Then Joshua called the 12 men, whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, out of every tribe a man. And Joshua said unto them, Pass over before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of Jordan, and take ye up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel. That this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, What mean ye by these stones? Then you shall answer them, that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, when it passed over Jordan. The waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan, as the Lord spake unto Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. Verse 9. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests which bear the ark of the covenant stood. And they are there unto this day. For the priests which bear the ark stood in the midst of Jordan, until everything was finished that the Lord commanded Joshua to speak unto the people, according to all that Moses commanded Joshua. And the people hasted and passed over. And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over, that the ark of the Lord passed over, and the priests in the presence of the people. And the children of Reuben and the children of Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, passed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spake unto them. About 40,000 prepared for war passed over before the Lord unto battle to the plains of Jericho. On that day the Lord magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life. And the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Command the priests that bear the ark of the testimony, that they come up out of Jordan. Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, Come ye up out of Jordan. And it came to pass, when the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord were come up out of the midst of Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up unto the dry land, that the waters of the Jordan returned unto their place, and flowed over all his banks as they did before. And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and encamped at Gilgal, in the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of Jordan did Joshua pitch in Gilgal. And he spake unto the children of Israel, saying, When your children shall ask their fathers in time to come, saying, What mean these stones? Then you shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of Jordan from before you, until you were passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us, until we were gone over, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of the Lord, that it is mighty, that you might fear the Lord your God forever.
And it came to pass, when all the kings of the Amorites, which were at the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel, until we were passed over, that their hearts melted, neither were there spirit in them any more because of the children of Israel. At the time of the Lord said unto Joshua, Make thee sharp knives, and circumcise against the children of Israel the second time. And Joshua made him sharp knives, and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. All the people that came out of Egypt that were male, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way, after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, until on whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land which the Lord sware unto his fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcised all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. And the Lord said unto Joshua, This day I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off of you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal until this day. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month, at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. And it came to pass, when Joshua was in Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us, or art our adversary? And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord I am now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so.
Chapter 6. Now Jericho was shut up inside and out. And excuse me. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out, and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its kings and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war, going around the city once. Thus shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout. And the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every one straight before him. So Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, Go forward, march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord. And just as Joshua had commanded, the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord, went forward, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. The armed men were walking before the priests who were blowing the trumpets, and the rear guard was walking after the ark, while the trumpets blew continually. But Joshua commanded the people, You shall not shout or make your voice heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So he caused the ark of the Lord to circle the city, going about it once. And they came into the camp and spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. And the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord walked on, and they blew the trumpets continually. And the armed men were walking before them, and the rear guard was walking after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpets blew continually. And the second day they marched around the city once, and returned to the camp. So they did for 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at the dawn of day, and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only on that day that they marched around the city 7 times. And at the 7th time, when the priest had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And the city and all that is within it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall live, because she hid the messengers whom she sent. But you keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction, lest when you have devoted them, you take any of the devoted things and make the camp of Israel a thing for destruction and bring trouble upon it. But all the silver and gold and every vessel of bronze and iron are holy to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city. Then they devoted all the city to destruction, both men and women, young and old, oxen, sheep, and donkeys, with the edge of the sword. But the 2 men who had spied out the land, Joshua said, Go into the prostitute's house, and bring out from there the woman and all who belong to her, as you swore to her. So the young men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and mother and brothers and all who belonged to her. And they brought all their relatives and put them outside the camp of Israel. And they burned the city with fire and everything in it. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. But Rahab the prostitute and her father's household and all who belonged to her, Joshua saved alive. And she has lived in Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua laid an oath on them at that time, saying, Cursed before the Lord be the man who rises up and rebuilds this city Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn shall he lay its foundation, and at the cost of his youngest son shall he set up its gates. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land.
Chapter 7. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, Let all the people go up, but let about 200 or 300 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few. So there went up thither to the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai smote them about 36 men, for they chased them from before the gate, even unto Shebarim, and smote them in the going down, wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord, even until eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, Alas, O Lord God, wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? Would you, God, we had been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan. O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their back before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us around, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? And the Lord said unto Joshua, Get thee up. Wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face? Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them. For they have taken of the accursed thing, and also have stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you any more, except you destroy the accursed thing from among you. Up, sanctify the people, and say, Sanctify yourselves again tomorrow. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, There is an accursed thing in the midst of thee, O Israel. Thou canst not stand before thine enemies until ye take away the accursed thing from among you. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought according to your tribes, and it shall be that tribe which the Lord taketh shall come according to the families of, and the family which the Lord shall take shall come by households, and the household which the Lord shall take shall come man by man. And it shall be that he that is taken with the accursed thing shall be burnt with fire, he and all that he hath, because he hath transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and because he has wrought folly in Israel. So Joshua rose up early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Judah was taken. And he brought the family of Judah, and he took the family of the Zarites, and he brought the family of Zarites man by man, and Zabdi was taken. And he brought his household man by man, and Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was taken. And Joshua said unto Achan, My son, give, I pray thee, glory to the God of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. And Achan answered Joshua and said, Indeed, I have sinned against the Lord God of Israel, and thus have I done. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment, and took 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them, and took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran into the tent, and behold, it was hid in his tent, and the silver under it. And they took them out in the midst of the tent, and brought them unto Joshua, and unto all the children of Israel, and laid them out before the Lord. And Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan the son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that they had, and they brought them unto the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, Why hast thou troubled us? The Lord shall trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones, and burned them with fire after they had stoned them with stones. And they raised over him a great heap of stones unto this day. So the Lord turned from the fierceness of his anger. Wherefore the name of that place was called the Valley of Achor until this day.
Joshua chapter 8. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear not, neither be thou dismayed. Take all the people of war with thee, and arise. Go up to Ai. See, I have given into thy hand the king of Ai, and his people, and his city, and his land. Thou shalt do to Ai and her king as thou didst unto Jericho and her king. Only the spoil thereof and the cattle thereof shall you take for a prey unto yourself. Lay thee in ambush for the city behind it. So Joshua arose, and all the people of war to go up against Ai, and Joshua chose out 30,000 mighty men of valor and sent them away by night. And he commanded them, saying, Behold, you shall lie in wait against the city, even behind the city. Go not very far from the city, but be ye all ready. Verse 5. And I and all the people that are with me will approach unto the city, and it shall come to pass, when they come out against us, as at the first, that we will flee before them, for they will come out after us, till we have drawn them from the city. For they will say, They flee before us, as at the first. Therefore, we will flee before them. Then you shall rise up from the ambush and seize upon the city, for the Lord your God will deliver it into your hand. And it shall be, when you have taken the city, that you shall set the city on fire. According to the commandment of the Lord shall you do. See, I have commanded you. Joshua therefore sent them forth, and they went to lie in ambush, and abode between Bethel and Ai, on the west side of Ai. But Joshua lodged that night among the people. And Joshua rose up early in the morning, and numbered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people of Ai, and all the people, even the people of war that were with him, went up and drew nigh, and came before the city, and pitched on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between them and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men, and set them to lie in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. And when they had set the people, even all the host that was on the north of the city, and their liers in wait on the west of the city, Joshua went that night into the midst of the valley. And it came to pass, when the king of Ai saw it, that they hasted and rose up early. And the men of the city went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people, at a time appointed, before the plain. But he wist not that there were liers in ambush against him behind the city. And Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. And all the people that were in Ai called together to pursue after them. And they pursued after Joshua, and were drawn away from the city. Verse 17. And there was not a man left in Ai or Bethel that went not out after Israel. And they left the city open and pursued after Israel. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Stretch out the spear that is in thy hand toward Ai, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward the city. And the ambush rose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as they had stretched out his hand. And they entered into the city and took it, and hasted and set the city on fire. And when the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended up to heaven. And they had no power to flee this way or that. And the people that fled to the wilderness turned back upon the pursuers. And when Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, then they turned again and slew the men of Ai. And the other issued out of the city against them. So they were in the midst of Israel, some on this side and some on that side. And they smote them, so that they let none of them remain or escape. And the king of Ai took alive and brought him to Joshua. And it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness wherein they chased them, and when they were all fallen on the edge of the sword, until they were consumed, that all the Israelites turned unto Ai and smote it with the edge of the sword. And so it was that all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. For Joshua drew not his hand back wherewith he stretched out the spear, until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the cattle and the spoil of the city that city Israel took for a prey unto themselves, according unto the word of the Lord which he commanded Joshua. And Joshua burnt Ai and made it an heap forever, even a desolation unto this day. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until eventide. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stones that remaineth unto this day. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal. And as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones, over which no man hath lifted up any iron, and they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And he wrote thereon upon the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. And all Israel and their elders and officers and their judges stood on this side of the ark and on that side before the priests, the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well as the stranger, as he that was born among them. Half of them over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings and cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel, with the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them. Okay. Wow.
Wow.
All right, let's go back to chapter 4. I don't have anything until verse 3. I have to figure out how far back is 4 for me.
Yeah, mine's not till 9 and 19 or something like that, 14.
First, go ahead.
No, I said mine's jumbled. It just encompasses the whole chapter. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 3, 12 men, 12 stones, one from each tribe.
Right.
Are they similar stones? Are they different types of stones? What do you think?
I think they were big stones.
They were big.
I think they were like shoulder
Yeah.
type things up on your shoulder. Is that what you think? Then?
Yeah, if you have to carry it on your shoulder, that's a big stone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I picked up my 75-pound salt rock yesterday, and it's a big stone.
I
And I,
bet you need it up on your shoulder.
I don't even think I could get it up to my shoulder, okay?
It's going to take a lot of peppercorns. Yeah. I don't have anything until 13 after that. Anybody else?
Well, 7, I like how 7 and then 22, how he's just saying, you know, when they ask, when your children ask later, this is what happened here, and that's what those stones are for.
Right.
All rocks over there. Yeah, I thought that's pretty cool.
Right.
I wonder if they're still there too. I mean, it says in the word, it says it's there to this day. Okay, at the time of this writing, do you think those stones are still there?
I do.
That was what I was thinking, Lynn. I wonder if they're still visible because they tend to enshrine that stuff.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed in my life with just different, even if I had a technical issue like a licensing issue or something like that, if I was doing it for something that, you know, I felt that God was telling me to do, I never had an issue. Like even like road, I don't want to say like road, but like for example, if well, never mind. It's just a bad example, but there's something spiritual, I think, about stuff that the Father doesn't allow even the idea of something to be destroyed if it says that it's there till this day. I think that it's still there. Like there's parts of the world that they won't let you go in because you can find chariots at the bottom of.
It's
you know what I
true.
mean? So why not just get rid of it? Why not just drop some dynamite and disperse it? But there is a respect for the Creator, even if they're saying, well, I don't believe what you believe, but there's still a reverence.
Yeah, that's a healthy fear. And you know that split rock that had the water come out of it is there, and we wouldn't know about it unless that family had gotten in there and seen it and smuggled pictures out.
Right.
Zach Bauer just put up a video about that too. The
I was
city
just getting ready to say that.
they're wanting to build.
Mm-hmm. That they're actually opening them up because they're wanting to turn it into a tourist area.
Yeah.
They want to build a huge huge city there, and they're having to move people that actually still live there. And yeah, they're actually opening it up to tourism finally.
They're gonna sell Jesus.
Why so salty, Saudi?
So verse 13. I thought that was interesting. 40,000 prepared for war out of those three tribes, out of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So,
I underlined the 40,000. That's a lot of people just from 3 tribes.
yeah. Well, these are just for the war, too. Remember, they left all their children and
Right.
wives at home. They're women folk.
My goodness. What a horde of people. I mean,
It's a lot of people.
it is.
Okay. That'd be pretty cool. All right, so I know that it kind of answered it later, but in the beginning of it, it talks about setting the 12 stones down where the priest stood, but then later it says to put it at Gilgal. And because all right, I was thinking, like, are they in the water? Because where the priest stood, where the river dried up, that's where they stood. And so that's what I was thinking. And then as we continued to read, it says, yeah, I don't know where the verse is. I didn't write it down. But
That's why you write them down.
Oh, because you're saying because, first of all, it really didn't have a name, but it was Gilgal, but they're still calling it Gilgal before they named it. Is that?
No. But I'm saying, as it describes in the beginning of the chapter.
Right.
And
In verse 19 and 20 is where you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to look for numbers because I was listening. And okay, so in verse 20 he says, "And those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up at Gilgal." So I guess maybe they did put them, or they at least picked them up from the Jordan, where the priest.
Well, it says it carried them on their shoulder too.
Then okay.
In that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it just it could also be where the priests stood after they came out.
Right.
And according to Strong's, Gilgal actually means circle of stones.
Interesting.
That's all it means.
So, verse 19, and the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and camped at Gilgal in the east border of Jericho. What day is that?
The 10th day of the first month? Isn't that, I have to look at my calendar.
That is the day they select the Passover lamb
Oh, okay.
and put it in isolation to keep it.
To keep it away from making sure it's perfect.
Yep.
Didn't they bring it into their house?
That's what some people say.
I think so.
I would have brought it into my house.
I couldn't do that. Sit there and have this little lamb, this cute little lamb in your house. You feed and water for 4 days.
He's my pet now. I love him. We're not eating him.
Hey, Mary.
Can't kill it and eat it.
It'd be pretty tough. I've always
I
thought
think we
about
ate my rooster.
that's one thing that's always came to my mind whenever thinking about the Passover lamb. Because you just develop a sense of a relationship with this little lamb, you know. But knowing that it's, I don't know.
Isn't that kind of the idea, though?
Right.
Start to say, that's probably the deal. And just think about, I guess that's to put it in our heart of maybe either how the father suffers by you have this lamb in your house and it's so innocent and sweet, and then you're going to have to sacrifice it. Well, that's what Abba had to do to his son. Broke his heart to do that. And I guess that's like you said, Jonathan, I guess that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Learn to love the lamb that's sacrificed for you. Let's go to chapter 5.
I have a question, but it's down in 7.
Well, just I find it interesting. It explains thoroughly in verses 2 through 7 how the people born in the wilderness weren't circumcised. So they're getting circumcised. And remember, their ancestors messed up. That's why they all died in the wilderness. But these, through the circumcision, they're reestablishing, they're the new recipients of the covenant with Abraham, right? Through that circumcision. So they're being marked there.
My question was, though, weren't they already given the instruction to do that on the 8th day after they were born?
When you come to the place where I
Tell you.
What is it? When you come into the land that I have promised you.
Okay, so they did not do that until after they came into the land. Okay. I figured somebody would remember that.
As we were reading through it, it kind of made me think of like just imagine like the temple of medicine, because today, just in humanity, when you have a baby at the hospital or something, they give all these reasons to have the procedure done, but it clearly states in here how important it is and how it has a spiritual significance to the Father from their obedience. And I don't know, I don't really know where to take that. I was just thinking about the way it's explained away as medicine today, but in here it's
Well, in modern, now they circumcise them. They give them a shot of vitamin K and circumcise them before they leave the hospital.
right.
Because vitamin K shows up on the 8th day, which is a blood coagulant.
I think my son was on the 8th day. Just happened that way. I didn't even know about any of that, but I think it just happened that way.
Yeah, vitamin K in male or in an infant shows up on the 8th day, which clots the blood. And so now they give them in the hospital, before they leave, they give them a shot of vitamin K and go ahead and do the circumcision before they leave.
So I don't have anything until 14 and 15. Where was yours, Donna?
It was 7. That was my question.
Oh, okay.
What was the reason why they had not been doing that? And you answered that. I didn't remember that they waited until they became in the Lord. And I thought it just struck me that said, this is now, I thought about that with the baptism. This is now, I'm taking Egypt off of you.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that is not a modern, baptism is for cleansing also, but I'm wondering if that's not also part of that, is to remove Egypt and Babylon from us when we do that.
It's also you making that statement and saying, I am belonging to Jesus, and I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, and this is my sign.
Right.
Right?
I like what you're saying about that, washing off the Egypt and all that. That's cool. I never thought of that.
Well, I mean, because it just was a thought that just now came to me. I mean, obviously a female can't be circumcised, and they did have baptism back then. Their baptism was their cleansing and their washing, but we do that now as a visual outward sign, much like they do, like they did circumcision. It just struck me.
14 and 15. So someone coming in the name of the Lord, captain of the host of the Lord, I am now come. And Joshua fell down on his face and worshipped him. And when he says, what do you say to me? The captain of the Lord's host says unto Joshua, loose the shoe from off thy foot, For the place where you stand is holy.
And who else did that get said to?
Moses.
Moses. And who was he talking to? Burning bush. More than likely Yeshua, right?
Well, this says the captain of the Lord's host.
Right? In that.
So I would think that would be an angel like Gabriel or somebody.
Right. But when they're not representative, when they're not coming in the name of Yah, they tell them, don't worship me.
Right. And he didn't say that.
Right. But when they're coming as a direct representative, they allow it. They don't encourage it, but it seems that they allow it. So that's something to ponder over.
I think if I would have saw like an angel or something like that, I'd probably fall on my face too. Just because it'd be so shocking.
I think, Lynn, I agree. I think any of us probably would, because this is a spiritual being that, is like probably flaming and,
Yeah. You would know, your whole body would know that's not a human being. And yeah.
I personally think this is Yeshua.
But then again, it says we will entertain angels unawares, right?
True.
Right.
We've all met them, just not in their full glorified. They've kind of shrunk it down to human form. I mean, I think everyone's met them, every person alive, but they just look like you and me.
They are big though.
Because we get scared to death.
Sometimes they're missing teeth. Sometimes they don't. They're trying to see how you're going to treat them.
Maybe. I can see that. I can see that.
So it was really Yah that did that ambush thingy. He's the one that thought that up, didn't he? I always wondered who thought of, we're going to come around behind, we're going to draw them out, and then you guys.
But,
I always wondered where that came from. Like who, and here it is.
Where are you at?
Oh, I'm in 6.
I just wanted to go back to 10, to verse 10 in chapter 5.
In 5?
Yep. Because I missed this when we read it. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day.
Yep. And they did eat of the old corn, so they're all eating stale corn, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Well.
And then they didn't get any more manna.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they have food from where they arrived. So
that's the first time it's mentioned that they don't have manna anymore. Right?
And he's eating the corn that was already there, which Abba had prepared by someone else.
Yep.
Yep.
Sort of like plundering Egypt. He plundered Jericho. I mean, he prepared that.
Take our stuff, go.
Well, you know what? That's corn tortillas and tamales right there.
You would be happy. Well, going back to that video go ahead. Sorry.
Cornbread, corn pones.
Corn tamales.
Going back to that video that Zach did today, talking about that.
Grit. Okay.
Preparing the grits. I don't like grits.
Oh, I love grit.
What? I'm going to pull your Southern card.
You even Southern.
I like grits in Georgia, so
Yankee alert. Yankee alert. Okay, sorry.
Love grits.
I can't. I could if I just absolutely had to. But.
Syrup, that's the key. Syrup.
Lots of sugar and cream.
No, butter and sugar.
Butter's good too.
Syrup. I mean, golly.
Oh, I love syrup on it.
I got some black strap molasses.
Yeah. Woo! I got some of that. It's good. Put that in your coffee.
I do that.
Goodness. Okay. So now someone was trying to skip ahead to chapter 6 here.
Okay.
Chapter 6 of Joshua.
Never mind.
There's a lot in this too. This is the first place ram's horns are mentioned.
Mhm.
Trumpets of ram's horns. And yet what do most people buy when they buy animal horns these days? They get like something from an ibex or something, some African gazelle.
It's usually
Yeah, the
pretty-
ibis. Ibis.
And it's straight and it's long and straight but twisted.
Well, what was interesting was I came across this. I read this the other day, and Rob Skiba has started back his virtual house church. And I had written in my margin that the silver trumpets were used, it was used in the temple, and then we, like you've said before, people automatically think ram's horn. Well, they use silver trumpets beforehand, but it's so my thought process was, what is the difference? Is it for a specific thing? Like the silver was for assembly, and is maybe the ram's horn for war?
For assembly and for moving.
But maybe the ram's horn was a war type thing. And I went and I was watching that virtual house church, and that was almost this exact thing that was said. Was they were used for, even though they were used for something similar, they were also used for something different.
Right.
Yeah, and then it all depends on what kind of what do I want to say?
Alert sound.
Yeah, what kind of noise they're blowing, what kind of staccatos and longs, and I don't even know what the word is.
Also, too, metal and horn. Right.
Make two different sounds.
It makes a different frequency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to have a different frequency.
It's a brighter. The silver would be a brighter.
A real
sound.
crisp. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've listened to a actual ram's horn, it's kind of raspy and rough around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe when you take that and couple it with when they get to the seventh day and they trek around 7 times, and they're being quiet this whole time, right? And then they all start shouting and stamping, right? Well, actually, I think it just says shouting.
Shouting.
Right? Doesn't say stamping the ground, although I've seen it
Trumpets and the
portrayed
shouting.
like that. But yeah, look at how Western armies and other armies too are experimenting with sonic weapons, sound weapons.
Yep, sound vibrations.
Yeah.
That's what brought those walls down. Just crumbled them.
Yeah, you got to talk to GR's husband about that.
Yeah. How come?
I can tell you off camera.
Oh, okay. He plays the tuba, huh?
Military.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, some interesting stuff on that.
Yeah. Oh.
We lost
Okay.
her. Yeah, I mean, probably right. It's probably a frequency thing, and also I got to doing some digging around because this was something that I heard Dr. Michael Lake talk about. Because this was in Shinar. This was the land of Shinar, which was Babylon, Nimrod. And even though it's not listed as one of Nimrod's cities, these had huge, giant walls.
Which one? Baalbek?
No, Joshua, or
Jericho?
Jericho. And maybe it was still a Nephilim stronghold, and that was one of the reasons why they didn't want anything kept.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, so there's a whole lot in there. What about nobody rebuild it, and whoever rebuilds it, your firstborn is going to be cursed. Right, the curse 26. Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, "Cursed be the man before the Lord that riseth up and buildeth this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof in his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it." What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Mhm.
How's your translation read there, Landon?
At the
26.
cost of the firstborn shall he lay its foundations, and at the cost of his youngest son shall he set up its gates. But I would think rationally it would.
So basically, none of his sons is the way I would read your translation. Basically, you're not going to have any descendants. Your family's going to die right there.
I don't know. I think maybe the one that would try to do that, but it would ruin the lives of his offspring. It would be seen as a good thing, and he would continue to do so until it cost his firstborn everything in his life. And then, as his the younger son tried to strengthen it by defending it with its gates, it would cost him everything too. And that, like, just looking at it as far as not so much immediate, but the end is the same. That's just kind of how I see it.
Well, it's interesting because later in Scripture we're going to see Jericho is rebuilt. I can't recall that it discusses who does the rebuilding, but it does get rebuilt. So that's pretty interesting.
Did they not speak the entire time? Like that they were
For
marching?
6 days. 6 days, 6 laps, not a word. Which is interesting because, like I was saying about the feet stamping, I've seen that in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But also, too, in the movies, they're whispering to each other. No, I think they were totally silent.
Yeah, you
Obedient,
didn't want to mess that up. You'd have to start all over.
right? Because they already saw Joshua take some
Right.
people past.
Yeah, dry up the waters and wow. Yeah.
No, God bless
We
you.
miss you, Quinn.
Just thinking if anybody sneezes, you can't.
Let's go to 7. What do we have in 7? I don't have anything until 10. So if you got something before that, let me know.
And I just have the accursed thing.
Mm-hmm. Right? So
It just reminds me again of occult objects, where they talk about that kind of stuff. That
right. Objects have attachments. They can have
You
attachments.
can.
And that there's think about all the things like our soldiers bring back from countries overseas, because my dad used to have some strange things from Southeast Asia.
Oh, there's some weird stuff from Asia. Yeah.
Yeah.
think about those African tribal masks and all that stuff.
Yeah, stuff from the Philippines, stuff from Vietnam, stuff from Thailand, stuff from Indonesia.
China. My
No,
grandmother brought stuff back from China.
Yeah, but they got some things that I would definitely think are accursed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why all my cursed things are in the storage room. I'll get around to them eventually.
Verse 10, after they realize, right, this is coming down on all of Israel because this guy took this stuff. And Joshua falls on his face. Yah tells him, why are you lying there on your face? Get up. Right? It's almost like a
parent, child is
well,
having a temper tantrum or something.
well, it's like somebody, I don't know what to do. A child, I don't know what to do. Get up. You are he's the chief of all Israel at this point in time.
Yes.
You know, basically telling them, you got something you need to take care of. Get up and do it.
Right?
Building some leadership skills.
Hold it.
Ooh,
Go ahead of time before you
yep, hand sign.
telling your kids we're getting in the car. Go back now.
We're marching 40 miles today.
No stopping.
Come
Not
on,
stopping.
Go. I'll do this. Oh, good boy.
Yep. And that, now I found this interesting too, if you don't have anything between there and now, but verse 24. Took Achan the son of Zerah and the silver and the garment and the wedge of gold and his sons and his daughters and his oxen and his asses and his sheep and his tent and all that they had, and really brought them into the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, why hast thou troubled us? The Lord shall be troubled. The Lord shall trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones and burned them with fire.
After they stoned them with stones.
Well, it says stoned him with stones, but burned all them with fire.
After they had stoned them with stones.
But it doesn't say them.
Yes, it does.
And at the,
It says
at
it
the
right
end of
after.
Oh, okay. I see. I'm looking at the first part
Oh, okay, yeah.
where it says they stoned him with stones and burned them with fire. Okay.
So you
Yeah.
think they were all dead from the stoning before they got burnt?
I would hope so.
I'm hoping so too, because that's
It's hard to
you
say.
do not want to mess up when he tells you.
Yeah, but that stoning probably isn't very pleasant either.
Now,
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
does that mean they were all in on it?
You mean all the Israelites or all the family?
No, all of his tent, all of his household.
Well, I mean,
Well, they would have had it been if they dug a hole in the middle of the tent to bury everything.
But you know, he seems to do that with families. So we do wonder, is every time that he does that with the whole entire family, is it because they do know, or is it to wipe out the sin
Iniquity.
out of that generation?
What about where the law says the son won't be punished for the father's sin and the father won't be punished for the son's sin?
That's true.
So they would have to have had partaken in it, I think.
Even the children, though, that's kind of, they didn't have much choice.
I don't know.
But there is Abba cutting out the iniquity out of
Right?
Israel. You
And
certainly
he's,
can't have that if you want to win.
All
But
right.
he also says, I'll pass the sins of the father to the third and even the fourth generation.
To them that hate me, yes.
Well, that's true. So let's go to 8. Now, here's the ambush, Lynn.
Okay, here's the ambush. I love it. It's so cool.
Right? So
I got
this,
this picture in my head, and I can just see, the city and the men hiding in the background, and then over here, and then they're all running away, and the whole city's chasing them, and then, whoo, I could just see it in my head. So cool.
on the Bible page on the website, it has a woodcut. Here, I'll share it. It has a picture of the town burning. Oops, there we go. Right here. It's kind of small. Actually, it's really small. But
Oh, that's sharp. Good. Oh,
Yeah. That would probably be really close to what it would look like too. I imagine. Don't look at me like that, Landon.
I think he's looking at all of us that way.
But think about that. If you were one of these inhabitants of Ai, and you go charging out to get somebody, and then turn around and your home's on fire.
That happened to my dad.
Did it?
Well, he was here in Phoenix and he was riding his bike somewhere and he turned around and he saw this big fire and he knew it was his house. So for some reason, he got off his bike and ran home instead of riding the bike home.
People do strange.
Yeah, I'm like, why did you not ride the bike home? He goes, I don't know.
Was he a child at the time?
Yes, it was here in Phoenix.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, people do. People have strange logic when
Yeah.
funny things happen, or not funny,
When stuff happens, yeah.
out of the ordinary happens. I remember that one Driver's Ed movie, the training film. The cop was talking about some lady not wearing her seatbelt, and he said, "Well, why don't you wear your seatbelt?" She said, "What happens if I get in a car wreck and I get knocked out and I can't take it off?"
Was that red asphalt?
I don't remember. But
They
he said,
have two of those.
if you're knocked out, how are you getting out of your car anyways?
Right.
Right.
But,
That's going to wrinkle my dress.
right?
Okay. That blood from the steering wheel with your face smashed is going to wrinkle. Is not going to be pretty either. But hey,
Nope, I was in the hospital with major surgery to put my leg back together because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. I wore my seatbelt every time after that.
so,
And my kids too. Car wasn't moving until everybody in the car had their seatbelt on. If you didn't want to wear a seatbelt, get out. Yep. Right,
Oh,
Jonathan?
Lord.
hey, Miss Lori.
It's Lori.
So, anything else for chapter 8? What else? What else?
Well, there's more stones.
Yep. Building the altar with the uncut stones.
That fire burning and smoke just reminded me of images I've seen over the last week of stuff. No, they're two different things completely, but it's just what it reminds me of.
Tell you what, they were interviewing an old lady where they burned down her neighborhood. They burned down all the stores she's able to walk to. She doesn't have a car. She said, "What am I supposed to do now? You idiots. Destroyed your own neighborhood. What am I supposed to do?"
Yeah,
I think they should take all those people's stimulus money and give it to the victims and make them pay for the victims' lives that they destroyed.
like you come get me and take me to the store now.
Right.
But the people that burn the fires ain't going to do that.
Well, they
They
don't
don't
live.
even live there.
They bust people in.
Yeah, they don't even live there, so they don't care about that community.
Yep.
The town I live in got targeted. They bust people in from Central Arkansas.
And did you have people there waiting with guns?
The first night they ended up breaking one set of windows. The second day I went down there, they had the entire square blocked off, and they even brought state troopers in this time. They had all the sheriff's department, all the police, everyone. They let them go at the square for a while, and then they moved them over to the old junior high, or the old high school, which is now the junior high. It's where I went to high school, and let them do whatever they wanted to do over there. Of course, then there was nothing for them to do, so they left. They dispersed after that.
Well, were they protesters or rioters? There is a difference. So
Well, these were bust-in protesters, so I'm guessing they were paid protesters. But my hometown has a bad history. They've got a certain group of people that still live up here and agitate,
Right?
and so they targeted the town.
The Clinton?
Mm-hmm.
You said
No.
the Clinton?
So any
It's up in north. It's up north central Arkansas. It's a little bit different type of history up here.
anything else for chapter 8 of Joshua? Okay, everybody. Dee, thank you for reading. Landon, Lynn, thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for joining us this evening.
yay for
We'll be
Monday.
back, we'll say 2 days.
Wednesday?
Yep.
The day after.
Continue reading on this. So if you want to read ahead, we're going to be doing Joshua 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
It's exciting.
Other than that, we will see you then. There's a couple of taped short studies that are coming out. So keep your eyes open for those. And those will be on the non-reading days. So thank you, everybody. Love you all, and we will see you very soon. Bye. Bye.
Bye.